I describe him as the best, obviously.
It's Cattles.
He throws it out there. Speaks his mind. That's cool.
It's Ramie.
He's supposed to make people laugh. He's just an expert at it.
Cattles and Ramie. Sactown Sports 1140.
What's happening? Good Thursday to everybody. Thanks for joining us as always. It is much appreciated. Another fun pre-show conversation between myself and Ramie.
What do you have against Wolf Blitzer, dude? Good God.
He's just a bit much.
We're on a Wolf Blitzer rant right before the mics turned on.
He's a bit much.
There are plenty of people in the world of news that I hate on all these networks.
He was the one that happened to be on my TV at the time.
Blitzer's not even on the top of my mind by any means.
I looked up at him and I just think about like how he, like just the hyperbole and the repetitiveness of him. Anyway. It is what it is.
Breaking news. Wolf Blitzer here.
Wolf Blitzer catching a stray.
Again, he deserves it. If you deserve it, you catch it. Thanks for joining us. We have a lot to get to in a small amount of time. Let's start with the Kings, Ramie. We talked about Monte McNair's contract yesterday, the situation, right? And as luck would have it, as good fortune would have it, Jason Anderson of the Sacramento Bee actually caught up with Vivek yesterday at the River Cats finale. Of course, we know Barry Bonds was throwing out the first pitch. It was a big to-do.
Oh, yay.
And Vivek commented on Monty's contract. Quote, I think Monty, Wes, of course, Wilcox, the whole front office, the coaches they hired, the coaching staff, the process they went through, the trades they made, the rookie they picked. I'm very pleased with everything that's happened. I think right now the focus is let's win. Now, that's the first of two comments I want to read to you, Robbie. But the first thing that jumps out at me is if you're very pleased with everything that's happened, why do you not give the guy a contract extension?
You're pleased enough that you're letting him keep his job for another year.
Right.
That's how pleased
you are. You are so pleased.
So pleased.
You're so pleased
that
you're going to allow
didn't
him.
Fire this dude.
I like that.
You're so pleased you let him hire a head coach. That's how pleased you are.
You are so pleased you're going to allow him the opportunity to be a lame duck GM.
To be the Sacramento Kings general manager for at least another year.
Thank you so much, Vivek. Thank you so much. Here's the second comment. I know it's been a long time, and I know that we haven't performed well on the court. We have the best fans in the world, and they deserve success. I think our future is really bright. I think we have an incredible front office. And I just stopped there. If you have an incredible front office.
Incredible, I have a hard time.
If you had.
Yes.
Let's say that you were the PD of the radio station, right?
Yeah.
You jump in my shoe.
Yes.
If you had an incredible employee. And their contract was coming up.
Yeah.
Would you sit there and go, you know, that employee is incredible?
Man, that guy's incredible.
They do incredible work, but do I really have to work on the contract right now? Can't I just wait and let that person get to become a possible free agent?
I could make very pleased make sense with the situation. Because, like I said, pleased enough that the guy still has his job, right? Incredible. That's a big adjective, man. Incredible. That's a big one. Throwing that out there makes it sound like that's a guy you should probably give a contract extension.
We have an incredible front office. Does he have job security?
No.
But he is incredible. He's incredible at what he does. When I read these comments, it's if you're a fan of this team and you read this from the owner, the first question is there literally any legit reason to not give Monte McNair a contract extension? If you believe this is an incredible front office, if you believe that they've done a tremendous job, then why is this guy GMing for his gig? I don't get it. Now, I understand that Vivek's not going to come out and say, yeah, he better get us in the play-in or playoffs or his job's done. I'll go find the next person. He's not going to say that publicly, but there is a way to balance this, right? There is a way to not be hyperbolic to the point where you paint the picture that this GM is an awesome GM, but hey, guess what? We're not going to give him an extension unless he gets into the playoffs this year.
I don't know what, but
I'm just confused.
Not to defend Vivek, but what do you get if you, because clearly I always say this, Nick, I won't say don't pay any attention to what these guys say in the media, but put a lot more stock in their actions than you do their words. And that's just a general rule of thumb for life. You know what I mean? Actions speak much louder than words. And the actions of Vivek when it comes to Monte McNair's contract is we're not pleased enough to give him a contract extension. That's what it screams. When he's asked that question, it's a tough spot to be put in, man, because
I'll give you a suggestion.
What is he going to say?
Less. Like less is more in this case.
No matter what he says there, unless it's
we don't. So this is what you say. You ready? You ask me the question. I'll answer it for you. You say, we do not discuss contracts with management publicly.
And we'd still be sitting here.
At any point. We don't discuss. We do not get into contract language at any point. And I would say, okay, he knows what the deal is. He doesn't want to promise anything to anybody because they've got to get to the playoffs before this guy gets a contract extension, right? But to come out and say he's incredible, that they've done, such unbelievable work. He's pleased with everything that's happened.
If he said what you just said.
Incredible front office.
If he said what you just said. If he said we don't discuss front office contracts, blah, blah, blah. We come on these airwaves, we go, well, Monty obviously still doesn't have a contract extension.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
But what's worse? What us saying, I don't even know if we would have talked about it. It would have been a nothing quote. I would have looked at it and said,
we would have talked about it. We would have said, obviously, Monty still doesn't have a contract.
But we did that yesterday when Monty made it obvious he doesn't have a contract.
Yeah.
So I don't know if we'd be talking about Vivek's comments off of what we talked about yesterday. The fact that he said what he said to Jason Anderson is why we wanted to talk about it.
I don't see the harm in being complimentary. I don't see the harm in being complimentary and keeping things happy and harmonious and nothing but good vibes in the building at the Golden One Center.
I don't find it to be something that's going to harm anybody or anything. It just doesn't make sense to me. Like, if he's obvious, like, if you think that this front office is incredible.
Well, yeah, I don't believe him.
Yeah. So
what we're trying to get at?
My point is,
I don't believe him because
my point is, like, why say it then?
Incredible
right?
front offices have job security.
Don't say anything that opens up the door for guys like me and you and women in the business to go,
I don't believe you.
That doesn't make sense.
Right.
Why would somebody say that? Because what's going to happen? We know what's going to happen. If this team competes and let's say they get into the play-in tournament and Monty gets let go, everybody's going to go back to these quotes and say, but you had an incredible front office. Here's the other thing. If the front office is incredible and this team doesn't win, now you're putting everybody else firmly under the bus to get driven over. Hey, incredible front office. I love everything they did. This front office is incredible. If they don't win, why did they not win? Players' fault? Head coach's fault? You told us you loved every move they made. You told us you have an incredible front office. So who's going to get the blame? Monty's going to get popped. Everybody else is going to stay. And people are going to look back at these comments and go, but I thought you said Monty was incredible. I thought you said he did a great job.
And then he'll just dance around that and say whatever he thinks people want to hear on that day. You know what I mean? That's the game we play. That's the game that we play in the media. I don't know why this is still surprising to people.
It's not necessarily surprising. I just think we have to call it out when it happens.
Absolutely.
That's what we do. I mean, when you come out,
it's almost laughable.
You have a lame duck GM and you go out there and wax poetic about how incredible the guy is.
It's almost laughable. I don't believe him. You don't believe him. I don't think anybody who uses logic would believe him because, yes, incredible front offices have job security. And that's something that Monte McNair and his peers in that front office don't have right now. And it doesn't sound like they're talking about it. It doesn't even sound like they're talking about a contract extension, which, again, put more stock in the actions than the words. That says to me, and it's not surprising to me, you and I, Nick, have theorized this since I got to Sacramento. Monty is working for his job right now.
Yep.
I don't know what it is. I don't know what the bar is that's being set, but whatever it is, there's a bar for Monty to clear for him to keep his job beyond 2022.
And I've been clear about this from the very beginning. I would have given him a contract extension. I would have aligned him with Mike Brown. This is his coach. I would give him a chance to go beyond the first year with the new coach. I think you're setting yourself up for some things. And I also think, Ramie, when you look at this, it just leaves the team susceptible to things happening. It leaves you open for Monty to go somewhere else. He's probably not going to do that, but it at least leaves open the possibility. It leaves open the possibility that he does a great job here. This team does, get into the play-in, but Monty turns around and says, you know what? Thanks a lot for the break. I enjoyed it here in Sacramento, but Team X wants to hire me and give me a 5-year contract and give me security, and I'm going to go there.
I tend to agree with you. I would give McNair an extension for the same reason you said. If I'm going to let him hire a head coach, then I'm going to at least give him 2 years of leeway before I give up on that tandem. And when I do decide to give up on Monty McNair, Mike Brown is going to go with him. But at the same time, I don't necessarily feel the urgency to give Monty McNair an extension, because if I approach him at any point in this season, if I'm happy with the performance and approach him at any point in this season and give him a fair offer, chances are he's going to take it, rather than the gamble of going out and taking his shot at maybe one of maybe 3 or 4 GM jobs that might be available in a given off season. I'll take what I know and what I have if I'm Monty McNair and take that extension. Whatever hurt feelings might be out there for not getting it earlier, I'll take the job security rather than risking not having a chair open when the music stops.
I don't disagree with you. My point is, I don't even know why you're gambling. To me, you don't even have to gamble. You're gambling with the structure. You're gambling with the stability of this organization for no good reason. That's how I see it. 916-339-1140 is the text line. Your thoughts on Vivek saying he has an incredible front office, so incredible that he has not given the GM a contract extension. 916-339-1140, 1-800-920-1140. Of course, youtube.com, Sactown Sports 1140. Is there a problem between Jimmy G and the head coach? Our thoughts in 90 seconds.
Sactown Sports 1140 is broadcasting live on YouTube.
To me, it's a must watch.
Check out the Carmichael Dave Show with It's the new spot for local sports talk in the afternoon. Cattles and Ramie. Sactown Sports 1140.
916-339-1140. Text line. Is there an issue between Jimmy Garoppolo and Kyle Shanahan? We'll get to that in a minute. Is there a problem there? But of course, as Tony Dogs points out on the YouTube channel, youtube.com, Sactown Sports 1140, R.I.P. Coolio. R.I.P. Coolio, 59 years old. Sad story yesterday.
Super sad.
Coolio passed away. Grew up on Coolio, so it's always a weird thing when you start reaching the age when the people that you listen to and watch growing up start to go, and you're oh no.
It is weird.
It is very weird.
I saw a cool story about Coolio today. Somebody who interviewed him later in his life asked him if he still had beef with Weird Al Yankovic.
I was just reading that to Jay.
Were you reading that? And Coolio said, "No, man, I was an idiot." And he was like, "And a real man steps up and admits when he's being stupid and he made a mistake and was an idiot." He said, "I apologize to Weird Al. The song was actually funny." And I thought that was, these days it's more and more rare that somebody will step up and say, no, I was wrong. I was stupid. And I let my ego get in the way. And I'm sorry. You know what I mean? And that's a cool story about Coolio that I appreciate it today.
59 years old. Way too young. Let's get to Jimmy Garoppolo and Kyle Shanahan. So is there a problem between these two guys? Let's go back to the post-game press conference. And also, it might not have been the post-game press conference. I think it was the week after when Jimmy G came in for Trey Lance. And he was asked about how he threw the ball deep that weekend, right? That game he came in for Trey after Trey got hurt. We saw a couple more downfield throws, and Garoppolo was asked about the freedom he had in that game. And here's what Jimmy G said at the time.
I love that. Yeah. I mean, it's just, there's a lot of things that go with that, obviously, but yeah, I love doing that stuff. In 17, there was a freedom where me, the receivers, tight ends, we had a good chemistry going. And I mean, when you get that with offensive skills in a quarterback, it makes for a tough offense.
Do you feel like you had that freedom last week just because you were coming off the bench, or do you anticipate to have it the rest of the season?
I don't know. I mean, that's a fair question. I think we'll see that as we go forward, but I don't know. The more freedom you have as a quarterback, obviously you play better, you're more confident, and good things will happen.
Could read that as a shot to the head coach. The head coach, Kyle Shanahan, of course, was asked about what Jimmy said, and here's what Shanahan said.
You'd have to ask him what he meant by that. There was no difference in that game than every game, so you can ask him from that. It was probably just going in when the game plan's for someone else and just coming off and winging it and going with it. That's what I would guess, but sounds like it's a question for him.
Yeah, sounds like a question for Jimmy, not for me, not for the head coach. And then we had the lip reading incident happen from last week's game. Everybody trying to figure out, including Ramie, what Jimmy G had to say. A lot of people think he took a shot at Shanahan in his game planning, and it was caught during the TV, footage. And all of a sudden, people are trying to figure out was that a shot at Shanahan?
The theory was he was saying all your plays bleeping suck, man.
Yes, that was the thought process. Well, Shanahan was asked about all the lip reading that's been done in that video clip that made the rounds on social media. He was asked about it today. Here's the coach.
There's frustration with our whole team. First of all, that clip to me is a joke, so I can't believe we're talking about it. I'm pretty sure that's not what he said.
Is there a problem between head coach and quarterback?
By the way, Kyle Shanahan also said he didn't watch it. You know what I mean? It's easy to come down on everybody thinking they're an expert lip reader on Twitter and interpreting what they thought Jimmy G said. But I'll tell you this. I have a better idea of what he said than what Kyle Shanahan does because he didn't watch it.
And how can you say it's a joke if you haven't seen it?
Exactly. All right. So I'll start there. I don't know if there's a problem or not, Nick. I know there'd be a problem, at least a little bit of underlying tension. If I was Jimmy Garoppolo, like, dude, you tried to push me out the door. You went and got my replacement and demoted me and tried to fire me until you saw that it was more worth it to bring me back. Yeah, there's a little bit of tension there. There's a little bit of chip on the shoulder. And there's going to be a little bit of, I already used the word, tension. I don't see how there couldn't be. To me, that's a human reaction when somebody sort of deposes you. I mean, it's an implied insult.
Right.
Of you're not good enough. We're going to go get somebody better. You're not good enough. If Jimmy G wasn't insulted by that, like, this dude has zero confidence and pride in himself as a football player if he wasn't bothered by that a little bit.
Is there beef from head coach to quarterback? I don't know. Is there some kind of problem from quarterback to head coach? I feel like there probably is. As Ramie just said, it's human nature. And when you look at not only, we get wrapped up in the actual operation and the on the field game and all that good stuff. But when you look beyond that, let's not forget this team, somebody leaked out towards the end of the preseason that Garoppolo was not a good teammate. I mean, somebody leaked that he didn't talk to his wide receivers during the offseason. Somebody leaked that he didn't do his homework during the offseason.
And there's no reason for that to come from anybody but the 49ers camp. Maybe not Shanahan, but somebody within the 49ers must have had to have been the one that put that out there.
Nobody from Jimmy G's camp is going to do it. Maybe you can try to come up with some kind of conspiracy theory and say that it was a rival team that threw that out there. But I don't think the insider, I don't think the people getting that information would say, oh, yeah, I absolutely believe Pete Carroll when he says Jimmy Garoppolo is not a good teammate, seeing that, Pete Carroll has Geno Smith and Drew Lock on the roster. So if you're Jimmy G and you hear that kind of stuff, you absolutely are in the right to feel that you were wronged, because you could sit back and say, wait, that's personal, right? Like, all right, I get the negotiation stuff. I understand.
Right.
It's, business is business. But when you start going dirty, and that's straight up dirty, that's going after somebody's character. That's going after somebody, whether or not they care about what they do and care about their teammates. That, to me, would set me off above everything else that was done in the offseason and preseason and training camp. Those leaks, yes, I would not be thrilled. I wouldn't be thrilled at the organization. I would not be thrilled at Kyle Shanahan, because I don't know who leaked that. And it's an old Stone Cold Steve Austin, DTA. I'm not going to trust anybody in that locker room. It doesn't matter what you think. I'm just not going to, and also you can look at it and say I wasn't allowed to compete. So not only did you drag me through the media with those leaks, but then you did not even allow me to compete. You just gave the job to Trey Lance. And whether or not I believe that's the right move, and I did, I thought giving Lance the job was the right move. But to Jimmy's looking at it saying, I was the quarterback that got us to a Super Bowl. I was the quarterback that got us to the NFC Championship game. And you guys didn't even give me a chance once it was rather obvious that I wasn't going to get traded. You didn't give me a shot to get out there on the field.
I'm going to tell you right now, if you came to me one day and you're like, Ramie, you're doing an okay job, but I'm going to bring in a different co-host. We're going to reassign you somewhere else in the radio station. I'm bringing in a different co-host. And then that co-host breaks his ankle 2 weeks in, and you're like, Ramie, I need you to be my co-host again. There's going to be some friction here, Nick. There's going to be a little bit of friction here in the studios. I can tell you that right now.
You'd be suspect number one. That person broke their ankle.
Do we have surveillance video?
Did the old Tony Galuli?
The old Tanya Harding?
Wow. It's such a long time.
Yeah, of course there's going to be some issue.
Yeah,
of course.
man.
It's not calling Jimmy G a bad guy at all. It's human nature. I'd be upset too. Ramie would be upset. I think all of us would be upset. So when he kind of pops off, did he pop off at Shanahan during the game? I can't tell you with 100% certainty that he did, but I feel like it's not crazy to think that he did. It's not crazy to think that he was angry at the coach during the game. Don't forget, Kappa Casino is conveniently located on 411 North 16th Street in downtown Sacramento. Also, we will have Casey Joyner joining us in about 20 minutes. Fantasy football owners want to get your questions in, youtube.com.
I have a big trade
Sports
proposal on the table to throw at KC.
youtube.com, Sactown Sports 1140. Also, you can tweet at us at Nick C Radio, at Ramie is tweeting. You can text us at 916-339-1140. Before we get to KC, however, a historic moment last night. But how historic? Get to it next.
Cattles and Ramie. Sactown Sports 1140.
There is beauty and there's uncomfort in owning an older home. The craftsmanship back then, the way they were built, the character, all have their positives. Now, on the other side, older homes need some love and some tenderness, and in our case, some help. Jason Ross here to tell you about the help we're getting thanks to ACR Solar. Now, you hear solar, and you know what? Yes, they do solar, but after years and years of living at our house, the time has come to get a new roof. Our old roof has done its job, but it is done. It's tired, and it looks it. So after doing the proper research and talking with several roofing companies, we landed on ACR Solar. They stood out from the first visit when Joe, their roofing expert, came out and shared his knowledge. We knew at that moment we were at ease because we were in good hands. Also, after our conversations with John, the owner of ACR Solar, that just confirmed what my wife and I already knew, that ACR Solar was the right choice for us. So we're so excited to begin our journey with ACR Solar. We're going to have a beautiful new roof, become more energy efficient, and have the peace of mind we're looking for. ACR Solar, 916-481-2700, or you can visit them at acrsolar.com.
Ian Eagle here from Thursday Night Football on Westwood One. Coming up from Cincinnati, Joe Burrow and the Bengals take on the perfect 3-0 Dolphins. Last week, Tua Tagovailoa and Miami picked up a big win over the Bills, while the Bengals claimed their first victory of the year at the Jets. Join Hall of Famer Tony Baselli and me for all the action on Thursday Night Football.
Get ready for the game with more details and preview at westwood1sports.com.
Football season is underway, so now is the perfect time to download FanDuel, America's #1 sportsbook. Because right now, new customers get a no-sweat first bet up to $1,000. That's free bets back. If your first bet doesn't win, just sign up with the promo code WIN. FanDuel has all your favorite bets from the money line to point spreads to player props. So sign up today with promo code WIN for your no-sweat first bet. Make every moment more this season with FanDuel, an official sportsbook partner of the NFL.
Must be present in state where lawful to wager. 21 plus in select states. First online real money wager only. Refund issued as non-withdrawable free bets that expire in 14 days. Restrictions apply. See terms at sportsbook.fanduel.com. Gambling problem? Call 1-800-GAMBLER. Visit fanduel.com/RG. Colorado, Iowa, Michigan, New Jersey, Pennsylvania, Illinois, Virginia. 1-800-NEXT-STEP or text NEXT-STEP to 53342. Arizona 1-800-789-7777 or visit ccpg.org/chat. Connecticut 1-800-9-WITH-IT. Indiana, Kansas 1-800-522-4700 or visit ksgamblinghelp.com. Louisiana 1-877-770-STOP. New York 1-877-8-HOPE-NY or text HOPE-NY 467-369. Tennessee Redline 1-800-889-9789. Wyoming, West Virginia 1-800-522-4700 or visit 1-800-GAMBLER.net.
Golf to Go is brought to you by the Hagen Oaks Golf Super Shop.
Doubtful, but it's considered to be day-to-day, according to head coach Kyle Shanahan. Sacramento product Eric Armstead missed another day of practice due to a foot injury. According to Kyle Shanahan, Armstead is questionable for Monday's night game. Panthers running back Christian McCaffrey, he missed another day of practice as he continues to nurse a quad injury. And Jameis Winston, who has an ankle and back injury, he missed practice today across the pond as they get ready take on the Vikings in London on Sunday. Keep it locked right here to Sactown Sports 1140 as immediately following the Cattles and Ramie show, we will have Thursday night football. The undefeated Finns, the Dolphins, they take on the Joe Burrow-led Bengals in the whiteout in Cincinnati. All of the action begins right here at 4:30. Now more of the Cattles and Ramie show coming up right now.
Sacramento has a new tag team in the afternoons.
Talking to the original tag team of ugly pukes here.
It's Cattles. It's Ramie. Sactown Sports 1140.
Time to check out Coastside Medical Clinic, dedicated to providing breakthrough remedies for men. If you have fantasy football questions, Casey Joyner joins us in 15 minutes. Make sure you get those questions to us, youtube.com. Sactown Sports 1140. You can tweet at Ramie is tweeting. You can tweet at me as well at Nick C Radio. And yes, we gave our condolences and RIPs to Coolio, who lost his life yesterday, unfortunately. So we're shouting him out today with some of the rejoin music that we're playing for you because we were all fans of one Coolio. Well, we were waiting for it, Ramie, waiting. And last night, it finally happened.
And the payoff. There goes the deep left. It is high.
It is far.
It is down. Number 61. He ties Roger Maris for the American League single-season record with 61 home runs. It's a two-run Judgian blast.
Yeah.
Here comes the judge. A two-run blast, and the Yankees take a 5-3 lead on number 61 for Judge.
A Judgian blast. Like, I just want to tell you a quick minute here. I got my start in radio in Providence, Rhode Island, and I was board-opping Yankee games down in, like, the basement of the building. A small little cubby hole. And I had to listen to John Sterling and Susan Waldman about 130 times a baseball season. I know his cadence. I used to know all of his calls.
Roger's in George's box.
He's in George's box. I everything about John Sterling and Susan Waldman, I'll tell you. The milkman delivers with Melky Cabrera. I used to know them all. An A-bomb from A-Rod. But anyway.
You seem scarred from that. You seem traumatized.
I am. I will forever be. Yes, I missed a lot of Friday nights and Saturday nights in my early 20s to listen to John Sterling. So
he is a legend.
Judge hits number 61. And I'll just say this. Contract year in the New York market.
It's pretty amazing.
All the pressure in the world. And this dude is going for the Triple Crown and hits at least 61 home runs on the season.
It's incredible.
Talk about phasing things out and compartmentalizing. Wow.
Yeah, you couldn't cook up more pressure if you tried in the sport of baseball than what Aaron Judge faced this year. With that market, just that alone, just the New York media market and how hard they can be on you. Contract year, playing for the Yankees, for the most, legend. I don't like to say it, but the most like legendary, storied franchise in the sport of baseball, playing for a contract. And then on top of it, chasing Roger Maris. Like you couldn't cook up a more pressure-packed situation than what Aaron Judge has faced this year and just delivers time and time again, dude. It's remarkable.
It is remarkable. And he's the latest athlete, and we see this with Lamar Jackson right now in the NFL. He's the latest superstar to bet on himself.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, that's what the contract offer is? Okay, I'll take it into the year, and I'll prove to you that I'm worth more than that. And, man, has he ever this season. He has been that man his money. He's been ridiculous.
Somebody's going to.
So, obviously, big story, home run number 61. Props to Chris Verlade, who told us that this was going to happen last Friday. The soothsayer.
Almost as impressive as what Aaron Judge did.
I made sure I was on the record.
Yeah, Nostradamus was on the record, and he nailed it. And then the other part of the story was after Judge hit 61, Roger Maris Jr., would you call it a press conference? I guess he kind of held a press conference.
Yeah, I think so.
Kind of weird. But anyway, here was Maris Jr.'s last night with his thoughts on number 61 for Judge.
I think it means a lot, and it's not just for me. I think it means a lot for a lot of people, that he's clean, he's a Yankee, he plays the game the right way. And, I think it gives people a chance to look at somebody who, should be revered for hitting 62 home runs and not just as a guy who did it in the American League. He should be revered for, being the actual single season home run champ. I mean, that's really who he is if he hits 62. And I think that's what needs to happen. I think baseball needs to look at the records, and I think baseball should do something.
Bravo, Roger Maris Jr. for saying what needed to be said. Seriously. Finally, somebody is saying what needs to be. I don't know how the whole world got Men in Black and everybody's pretending that Barry Bonds didn't do what he did and what we all know he did. And everybody just sits back and goes, you got to appreciate what Barry Bonds did. And he's the home run. No, I don't, dude. He's a fraud. We all know he's a fraud.
You got into a fight with Mina Kimes today on Twitter.
I didn't get in a fight at all.
Oh, okay. Now I got a problem with you.
I even said Mina Kimes is one of my favorite people on TV. But
before you blasted her opinion.
Everybody sits back and goes, you can't discredit what Barry, the hell I can't discredit what Barry Bonds did, or I can't diminish what Barry Bonds did. How did this become the overriding thought or way of the line of thought when it comes to the whole Barry Bonds situation, that everybody just sits back and acts like the magic trick was real? It wasn't. It was fake. We all know it was fake. And I'm glad Roger Maris came out and he's the first actual prominent person in baseball or in the biosphere of this record to come out and say that. And thank God somebody did. Seriously, thank God.
So you want to play the asterisk game, or do you just want to wipe out Bonds completely?
I don't care. As long as we acknowledge that he's not the true home run king in any way, shape, or form. Let's acknowledge it and not all pretend that the magic trick was real and he really pulled the rabbit out of the hat. He didn't.
Here's my thing. The asterisk game becomes somewhat of a slippery slope because steroids is not the first time that a professional baseball player try to use some kind of performance enhancer. And if you start going down that road, you can talk about uppers, you can talk about a lot of other things that were happening in the game, and then you can talk about how many games were played back then versus now. like, I don't know if you have to erase the record. I don't know. Like, I understand what you're saying, Rami, but people know, right? Like, if you don't believe that Barry is the rightful owner of the record, then that's what you believe. Like, who cares? Honestly, who cares? The fact is, people will always match Barry Bonds with Roy.
I'm going to be honest.
He's already his legacy has already been tarnished. Like, the fact that it's in the book, like, honestly, who cares?
I'm going to be honest with you, Nick.
You want to go find the record book and pull it out? Is this a big, crusty book where you sign your name down to it and go, Aaron Judge, 61 home run? No, I mean, like, we all know his legacy was destroyed. Like, I just don't understand, like, why it's even a thing.
I don't care what's in the book. It's everybody going, well, Barry Bonds is the home run king. Like I said, that's the prevailing thought.
But do you think that's true?
Yeah, that is the prevailing thought, Nick.
You think most people...
I bang my head against a wall every time this guy is up for the Hall of Fame. Every time somebody sniffs
that's
around
a different
61,
conversation. That's a different conversation.
I bang my head against a wall.
Hold on. The Hall of Fame conversation is different because, as I said yesterday, he's a 3-time MVP before the roids. He was literally one of the best players on the planet before he got into it.
He's still a black eye on the game, and you don't celebrate people who are a black eye.
Even more reason to put him in the Hall of Fame?
To what? That he's a black eye on the game?
Yeah, everybody's a black eye on the game in there, especially when you go into the 30s and 20s.
It doesn't. The record isn't what's bothersome to me so much as, and this is a problem across the board, man, this prevailing thought that there shouldn't be consequences for people's actions. You know what I mean? Like, there are consequences, dude.
I agree. The consequences are everybody thinks the guy everybody says he's a roid head. Everybody looks at his legacy and says he cheated the game.
And the logic of,
that's the consequence.
People
erasing his name from some magical, mystical book.
Like I said,
hold on. I got to take out my record book out of my back pocket. I got to erase Barry Bonds. Like, what?
It's like when college football teams lose wins. Like, we saw the games.
Yeah, I don't care about the book itself. If that actual book exists anywhere, it's that the prevailing thought is Barry Bonds is the home run king, and if you think otherwise, you're being silly. And I'm telling you, no, you're the ones that are being silly and pretending the magic act was real. And just real quick, Nick, because people come at me with this all the time. The logic of, there's always been ways of cheating and people have been cheating forever. It's flawed logic, man. People are breaking laws forever. People are cheating forever. When they get caught, we treat them as though they got caught. When you're a cheater, you're a cheater. Like, we don't just go, everybody cheats.
Roger
Maris, no, you're a cheater.
Roger Maris and Babe Ruth had a 295-foot right field wall that was only 3 feet high.
Okay.
I just want you to recognize this right now.
What is your point?
I just want you to know this right now. We did not get to Frankie Lasagna.
How dare we not get to Frankie Lasagna?
You were the one that was hot. It's your fault.
You got me up on my soapbox.
You started the whole thing. I just kind of, responded to what you were.
This really is a trigger topic for me. This is a hot button topic for me.
Fired up.
Because it just shows a flaw in society. Nobody wants the people they like to face consequences.
No lasagna for you, Makaloff. That's your consequence.
We got to get to Frankie Lasagna at some point on the show.
It's not happening.
I demand it.
Fantasy questions. Line them up. 916-339-1140. YouTube.com. Sactown Sports 1140 in the chat window. Casey Joyner will join us next.
It's Cattles. It's Ramie. Sactown Sports 1140.
I'm with Vince Bloom, the big guy at last year's Oak Grove Dodge. Vince, I suppose you're wearing your big guy football jersey because, it's football season.
That's right.
And you're number 60, which is significant because...
Because for over 60 years, the name Lasher means a great deal.
Then you must have a great play in mind for Ram Power Days.
I do, on Bighorn Crew Cab 4x4s.
All I can say is you better be going...
making sure he sticks around. So we're waiting to get Casey on the phone, get your thoughts on fantasy football. If you have any questions, again, feel free. Sactown Sports 1140 on the youtube.com, Sactown Sports 1140 in that chat little window there. You can also tweet at us at Nick C Radio, at Ramie is tweeting. You can also text us 916-339-1140. So while we wait for KC, Frankie Lasagna had a chance to catch home run number 61, and he failed. But his name is actually Frankie Lasagna.
His name is actually. Do you think that's actually his name? Because in the article they say he's a restaurant owner. Do you think this guy changed his name to Frankie Lasagna for marketing purposes? There's no way that's his.
There's no way he was born.
There's
Frankie
no way
Lasagna.
His name is actually Frankie. But how is Frankie Lasagna from Toronto and not from New York when the Yankees are playing the Blue Jays? How is Frankie Lasagna a resident of Toronto and not New York?
I want to go back to the name thing. Yeah, it's definitely a fake, right?
Yeah, that can't be his actual name.
He definitely changed his name.
In the article, and I'm reading this.
Ramie Sports Radio.
I'm reading this from Info News out of Canada. In the article, they keep referring to him as
Lasagna.
Lasagna, which first of all leads me to believe that it's his actual legal name. Certainly not his actual name, but his legal name that he eventually changed it to. And it's just hilarious reading this article and I don't know, for whatever reason, Nick, me reading, I was just giggling to myself last night when I would read, I would never bring a glove other than this situation, Lasagna said. I need a bigger one. Like Lasagna said is hilarious to me. Or Lasagna stretched over the railing, but the ball hit the wall just below.
Our guy
and bounced into the Toronto bullpen.
Our guy, Kyle Ledbetter, he says that Lasagna is running a scam because he was not the one who had the best chance to catch it.
He wasn't. I assumed, based on the name, that Frankie Lasagna was the heavyset gentleman that had the big glove and reached over the railing. But if you read the article, and you saw the highlight, right, Nick, of the ball not landing in anyone's glove, I assumed the big dude was Frankie Lasagna. I just assumed Frankie Lasagna is probably a heavier dude. You know what
You're profiling this guy. You thought he was from New York. You thought he was overweight.
I gotta admit.
You think he's got a fake last name. You're a lot of opinions.
Am I the only one?
Poor guy.
Am I the only one who hears Frankie Lasagna and assumes heavyset guy from New York?
When you first met Nick, were you like, I'm surprised you're not a cow?
Yeah.
I can't be the only one who had that image in my head that Frankie Lasagna was a heavyset man from New York. All right. I can't be the only one. But it's actually like the taller, slender guy in the light blue Vlad Guerrero Jr. jersey, about 2 seats over from the bigger guy.
All right, let's go to our correspondent JJ, who says he has an update on KC Joyner. What's up, JJ?
Yeah, it just dawned on me as I normally text all our guests in the morning time just to triple check and double check, and KC hadn't got back to me, but I just realized he lives in Florida. And it dawned on me when I looked at the 407 number. I'm like, you know what? Casey lives in Florida. So I called his home number and it was going straight to voicemail. It was saying like this number is unavailable. So I shot him a couple of texts and I just talked to him and his wife who are actually driving. They got misplaced. They got displaced. So he's like, hey, look, the only reason why we're even available and even have, service right now is we're driving away from the home. So I just want to make sure we throw that out there because, as we seen Coolio and Nick, you've alluded to it yesterday and the day before about Hurricane Ian, excuse me, man, prayers out to them people. Prayers out to, to everyone out that way because as you see, we're all affected by those things. So Casey and his wife Heather are doing fantastic. Just spoke to him. Good. But so we're going to miss Casey this week as he's doing some things to support the family and friends, and we'll have him on next week.
Thanks, JJ. Yeah, I did not even think. It didn't dawn on me that Casey was down in Florida. I reached out to some friends I've got down there in the business. I didn't reach out to Casey because I didn't realize he was in Florida.
He's like Central Florida. So,
fortunately, it sounds like he and his wife got out of there and everything's going to be okay. Spoke to a couple people today. I know Kelly's dad lives down there, and he was like, I'm going to stay. And apparently he was all right. So his sister's down there, so they stayed. But Kelly's aunt and uncle lived down there, and they went to North Carolina for a few days. They wanted to get out, but her dad stayed. So hopefully, everybody's okay down there. Just watching, dude. It looks like they have. Unfortunately, they have 17 people. They're up to 17 people who have passed because of it. So.
It's unreal watching some of the sites from down there. Like
it's
you almost can't believe that this
houses are literally
floating off the foundation
down a street.
Down a street.
We saw like a bridge that was just decimated.
Mm-hmm.
It just goes right into the water and just completely collapsed. So it was brutal down there, and hopefully the numbers don't continue to rise.
Really?
Hopefully a lot of people got out. I'm telling you, man, I would not hang around. I would not hang around. I've lived through 1 or 2 hurricanes, and fortunately,
you have?
Yeah, but they weren't that bad. They weren't Category 4s. And I want nothing to do with that stuff. And I would have been in North Carolina or somewhere else. So hopefully KC and the wife are all right and they're good to go. Sorry to everybody, obviously, that we couldn't get to your fantasy football questions. Ramie, do you want to answer questions for people?
I'll answer questions. I used to host a fantasy football show. Let's go.
I did too. That's how
really?
I got my hosting break in Boston doing it. All right. So do you start Tua? Short week, travel. He's banged up.
What are my options?
Ryan and Sactown doesn't tell me.
I mean,
he just asks.
I'm not scared of starting Tua. But I'd need to know what the other option is. But
he had the one great game against Baltimore. The 2 other games he had like a touchdown.
They've been pedestrian.
Yeah,
they've been average.
So I don't know if he's an every week play.
I need to know what the other option is, but I'm not scared off by the short week and the injury necessarily.
Juju Smith-Schuster?
Over who?
You're going to do this all the time, huh?
I need to know the options. How am I going to pick if a guy should start?
I got one here. Juju Smith-Schuster.
What do you mean by choosing between them?
Or Mecole Hardman. Hardman or Smith-Schuster?
Probably go with Hardman.
Probably go with Hardman.
Yeah, I think I'd go with Hardman.
You've got to be more committed than that as a fantasy guy.
I'd go with Hardman.
Thank you. There you go.
No problem.
Text line. You ready?
Yes.
Last wide receiver spot, Ramie. Lazard or Judy?
Ooh.
Got to be Lazard, right? Although I don't know. Patriots defense been pretty good.
Yeah, I'm going with
that's
Judy.
why we need KC.
I'm going with Judy. No, I'm going with Judy. There, I'm decisive. Judy.
We're just making KC sound better.
Judy.
Like, Ramie, every question's like,
sorry for putting thought into my answers, guys. Sorry for putting thought into my answers.
Literally flipping a coin. People are watching him on YouTube. Heads, Judy. Michael Thomas, Brendan Ayuk, or Gabe Davis? I would say I would go with Ayuk because Gabe Davis and Michael Thomas are both banged up. Thomas did not practice today. Chris Olave or DJ Moore?
Olave's been good the last couple of weeks. I'm going with Olave. I'm going to ride that wave.
He was named offensive rookie of the month.
There you go.
DJ Moore's done nothing.
Yep, give me Olave.
7 catches this year. He had 1 catch last week. Yeah, I'd go Olave.
Can I throw a trade at you guys at the group and see what you guys think of it?
Run DMG, by the way, is asking if Waddle is playing. I do believe.
Yeah, I think he is.
I do believe Waddle's playing. Both Tua and Waddle are
I haven't seen the injury report for tonight. So I got a stacked wide receiver room, but I need some help at running back.
Humble brag.
Mm-hmm. Would you give up Tyreek Hill for Najee Harris?
No.
Chris, JJ?
No.
I say no too.
Really?
I don't. That Pittsburgh offense is awful, man.
And he's been dinged up already, hasn't he?
I would stay far away from
I was leaning no too. You guys just solidified it for me.
Glad we could help, Ramie.
No problem.
That's why.
Can I ask you who's the other option?
What do you mean? Who's the other option? No,
who's your running back options?
It's not great. My running back room is I have Derrick Henry, and then I have Alexander Madison, Rashad Penny, and AJ Dillon.
As a guy who also has Derrick Henry, he's been fantastic this year.
He was good last week. Thanks.
Yeah, that one.
Thanks to the Raiders. Appreciate
Just play that Raiders front 7. You'll be right back in the mix. They cure a lot of ills, that Raiders front 7
last week. This isn't Raiders. I was up 7 points going into the second half, and my opponent had like a 90-something% win probability because he had Deebo Samuel and George Kittle, and I won by 5 points. So thanks to Jimmy G. I appreciate you, my dude, for getting me that win.
A 49er all-time great. Absolutely rips.
Dude.
Jimmy G.
He wouldn't stop.
The can't miss audio is coming up.
Cattles and Ramie. Sactown Sports 1140.
Hello, this is Joe Cordell.
Brunskill back to practice for the first time since week 1 of the preseason. Brunskill, who injured his hamstring, is listed as doubtful, but is considered to be day-to-day, according to head coach Kyle Shanahan. Also, according to Coach Shanahan, Sacramento product Eric Armstead, who missed another day of practice due to a foot injury, is questionable for Monday's night game. The Panthers running back Christian McCaffrey, he missed another day of practice as he continues to nurse a quad injury. The team has listed him as questionable for Sunday's tilt versus the Cardinals. And Jameis Winston, who has an ankle and back injury, he missed practice today across the pond as they get ready to take on the Vikings in London on Sunday. It is 4:00, which means it's time for more of the Cattles Ramie show. That's coming up right now.
Cattles and Ramie. Sactown Sports 1140.
You know what? Before we get to the rippage of Jimmy G from a 49er all-time great, I was driving into work today and I saw red.
Over
You want to know what made me mad?
Over
to
what?
the point where I wanted to
Somebody
throw something out the
slow in
window.
the left lane?
No.
Oh.
I was listening to Sirius XM,
Mm-hmm.
and I was listening to Shade 4-5,
Mm-hmm.
and they were playing Definition. And one of my favorite hip-hop songs of all time.
All right.
And in the middle of it, I'm into it, right? I'm all in. In the middle, the DJ cuts the song off.
What?
He goes, "Hold up, I just thought of something," and starts telling a story, which led to another song from the same record. And I'm like, dude, you don't cut off.
You can't
the
just
middle
do
of
that.
It got me hot. I saw red. I was so, dude, I was irrationally angry.
Is that something that's happening in radio now? People are just cutting off songs?
They have the remix.
Seems highly unprofessional.
They have the shows remixing and stuff like that.
Oh.
But that wasn't.
But if it
didn't
was a
sound
mixed
like
show.
that. But it didn't sound like that to me.
Because I've heard that in mixed shows.
I don't think it was.
Okay.
Because he cut it off in a really odd time. It was like the beginning of the second verse. I'm like, whoa.
Did you actually hear a record scratch when he stopped?
No, it just faded.
Okay.
It literally just faded away. And I'm like, what happened to the station? And he comes on. He goes, I was just thinking about something. I'm like, what?
That's
Who
odd.
does that?
No, you can't do that.
I like it how you had a full-on conversation with the dude.
Oh, I was. It's like looking at my radio. Why? Why would you do that? The song was great. I was in the middle. I was feeling it. And then boom. Anyway, we talked about Jimmy G and we talked about Jimmy G's post-game stuff. Here's what I'm going to do this segment. I am going to try my hardest to not absolutely blister Jimmy G because everybody has heard me criticize Jimmy G. So instead of me, because people like our guy Tony Dogs and others, they want to call me a Jimmy G hater.
Yeah.
So instead of me delivering the message, let's go to all-time 49er great tight end Brent Jones, who was on KNBR this week. And, man, he lit Jimmy G up.
That was as bad as offensive display as I have seen. And I am laying the blame. I don't do this very often. In fact, I don't do it hardly at all. But Jimmy Garoppolo was horrible. What the heck? You do not, when you're a professional football player and quarterback, you know where the back of the end zone is. That was so outrageous. You know how many times I've seen that from a veteran quarterback? Just like
twice.
0.0 from a veteran quarterback. It's just the worst. And while I was yelling, what are you thinking? He's throwing a pick six, so I'm rooting for safety.
Without comment from me. Here was Brent Jones talking about how Garoppolo was smiling after the game was over.
After you play horrible and you're the reason that your team lost the game, you do not smile and laugh and go glad-handing the other team after a game. I have never seen that from any quarterback ever that's ever been any good. Steve Young, No way. Joe Montana, hell no. Brett Favre, no chance in heck. You think Russell Wilson is laughing after he throws a pick, steps out of the end zone for a safety and fumbles a ball and plays horrible and his team's 1-2 and he's the reason he lost the game? I've never seen that. It almost looked like he didn't even care. It was so frustrating. Maybe I was just mad because the game was so ugly.
If you thought Brent Jones was done, he had plenty more. And I would like to add this. Verlad told us today that he had to edit these cuts down. How long did Jones go for? Like 10 minutes?
At least 10 minutes.
And you thought I was hating.
And like, I will say this. I cut out a lot of just like, listen, I like Jimmy G.
Oh, the caveats.
But
yeah, the disclaimers.
It's one of those, like, with all due respect.
With all due respect, he's terrible. He was smiling. And he continued. This one, I think, might be my favorite, this cut, because
this is mine too.
Yeah, just where he goes with this. So here's more from Brent Jones.
But I want to see Jimmy grabbing a couple receivers and talking to him. I want to see him going over and patting his lineman on the shoulder and say, hey, guys, I need some time, which was another thing we can get into, the pass protection. I want him talking to a coach. I always just see him sitting there posing, and nobody's taking GQ pics on the sideline. I want to see some emotion. I want to see some quarterbacking. I want to see some, hey, guys, we can't sit here and keep doing this. But they always just show him sitting there, looking stoic, posing. I want to see some messed up hair.
Mess up your hair.
What does that even mean, man?
I want to see your hair all over the place.
What does that even mean? I want to see some messed up hair.
All right, so obviously we got all of Brent Jones's thoughts. Well, not all of them. We those are his edited thoughts. I mean, if you wanted all of his thoughts, we need to set up aside an hour
version of Brent Jones' thoughts on Jimmy G.
Here's my question, though.
Yeah,
try to get it to be somewhat on the rails and serious for a minute. With the post-game stuff, not his performance and everything. We talked about whether or not he has an issue with Shanahan in the first hour. Do you think that Jimmy G can lead this team? And I don't mean like on the field with his play. Do you think he's in the right mental space right now? Do you think he can be a leader if this team needs one?
Yeah, I think so. Do you see how happy those guys were for Jimmy G when he came in for Trey Lance in that game? And I'm not saying they were happy that Jimmy G was in there and that Trey Lance got hurt. But did you see how happy they were for him when he scored that touchdown?
I wish when he
got that win.
You know what would have been great if we had that video of everybody kind of jumping around Jimmy G and he's like smiling like, I love life.
Giddy.
Meanwhile, we had somehow, some way video like through a webcam of JJ, the moment that Jimmy G went into the game for Lance a couple of weeks ago. I have a feeling it would be the exact opposite of reactions. So you think he'd be fine?
Yeah, man.
Because I honestly, I'm not totally sold.
For however Jimmy G rubs people the wrong way outside the locker room, that doesn't seem to be the case in the locker room. I'm not saying he is the undisputed leader of the 49ers, but I don't get the sense that guys in that locker room don't like him or don't think he cares about winning or cares about his job. I never got that impression.
You were talking about that webcam of Jay. I got to see his reaction when Brent Jones was going off on Jimmy G, and it would be fantastic.
JJ was doing cartwheels. You know what? It would look like Ken Dorsey in the Buffalo Bills booth this past weekend when he was smashing things. And
then I have to come in with the hand.
You got to calm down. Verlada was the guy in the back. Did you see the blow up picture of the guy in the back with his eyes all wide? Like, whoa, that would have been the video. I do wonder, look, I think he would be inevitably a professional and he would figure it out. But the reason why I'm not totally sold, the reason why I would leave it open at least a little bit that he might not be in the right mind space is because of some of what we talked about in the first hour. The leaks, the reports, but not because they leaked stuff about him, but what the reports said. We all kind of thought that Jimmy G was the perfect teammate. Now, whether or not those reports are accurate, I have no idea. But if there were people in that organization talking about how Garoppolo just kind of left everybody when the season was over, you do wonder, like, he was such out of San Francisco. Like, as soon as that last press conference of his when the season was over, he's saying goodbye to everybody. It's been a blast. Thank you. He's doing like the parade wave. I'm out. Goodbye. I've accomplished what I need to accomplish here in San Francisco. He had mentally checked out. Can he come back? Yes. But I think it's more difficult to do so. I think it's more challenging for him to get mentally checked back in because of what's going on. Ultimately, again, not totally sold, but I would side with you. And I think one of the driving, motivating factors of him being able to get this thing straight in his mind and at least try to be a leader, his career is on the line. That we don't talk about that enough. Like, we always look at it from the team standpoint. Like, he's trying to win a starting job. He knows it's unlikely going to happen in San Francisco. He wanted a shot to start somewhere else. This season is his chance to prove to the football world that he deserves another contract and he deserves to be QB1 somewhere else.
To pull an Aaron Judge or Lamar Jackson when it's time to take care of your chicken, you go out there and show that you're worth it.
How dare you bring up chicken and not bring up Marshawn Lynch?
Jimmy Garoppolo.
Take care of y'all chicken.
Jimmy Garoppolo has a chance to show the rest of the league what he can do and get another contract and another starting job. But can we go back to Brent Jones' comments for just a second?
Sure.
When he says, I've never seen a great quarterback go out into the middle of the field and smile after a loss or after a bad performance, or I want to see some messed up hair. Man, I'm not going to pull do you even watch the game, bro? On an NFL great.
Oh, you're going to pull a Shanahan?
Like a Brent Jones, but I've seen great quarterbacks smiling on the field or on the sideline after a bad performance or after a bad loss. It happens. It happens all the time. And as far as I want to see some messed up hair, in other words,
it's so funny.
It's a funny expression. But in other words, saying I want to see Jimmy G get worked up during a game. I want to see him get fired up during a game.
Frothing at the mouth.
The thing that the quarterback that Brent Jones played with, Joe Montana, the thing he was known for was keeping his cool. The famous story of him going into the huddle when they needed a game-winning drive in the Super Bowl, and he points out, "Hey, that's John Candy over there." You know what I mean? That was his nickname is.
It's a big moment for John Candy.
His nickname is Joe Cool. You know what I mean? His nickname is actually Joe Cool. He never lost his composure or lost his cool. Yet we need to see that from Jimmy Garoppolo. That stuff is so overplayed and overblown, and especially in the sport of football, because we get all, machismo about, I need to see a guy get upset and throw stuff. And it's just...
They say it in that voice?
It does nothing, dude. It accomplishes nothing other than to satisfy your macho side, where you go, yeah, he's as angry as I am. Oh, that's good. It does nothing. It serves no purpose whatsoever.
Real quick, two things, fellas, to play off kind of one of each thing that both of you guys have said. Nick, I kind of tend to agree with you. I would imagine that I think he can lead the team, but I do side with the fact of, and you brought a great point to the forefront, is look at the opposite side of what you said. I think it's a lot of pressure on Jimmy G and the fact that he is playing for his career. And I think we're going to see some of the things that we've seen over the last few years, and of course you've got to see when he's playing for the Patriots. I think some of his mistakes that he's gotten away with are going to be magnified now. He's under the microscope, and at this point, especially with Trey Lance's injury, Jimmy is going to be under the run and gun for the rest of the season. And every single time he misses a pass, every single time he throws INT, every single time he steps out of the end zone on the safety, we're going to talk about it. And I think that's the other part. That's the other side to what you're talking about, Nick. The other part to that too, Ramie, is for me as a 49er fan, I agree with you in the fact that you don't have to be, super intense. But I do think there's something with Jimmy G where he doesn't, from what we see. Now, we're not in the locker room, but as a fan on television where we hear him in press conferences, post games, things like that, we don't really see the fight from Jimmy. And as a fan, I'm like, I don't need you to be rah-rah, but I do need you to be up there and give me a little more than, hey, look, we play bad. We play bad.
Right.
To the point, and I said this to you guys off the air, his press conference was 3 minutes. Name another quarterback that got up there for 3 minutes this past weekend, especially playing the way he played. There's no way.
Yeah, I don't know how that was that a Jimmy G decision? Was that the media
It's probably
relations?
both.
Yeah, I don't know how.
But why not? Why not sit there? And again, that goes to the point. If you're a leader, the very question we're asking, if you're a leader, and I know you don't want to stand in front of the media, but at some point in time, why not just say, listen, I'm here. I'm gonna handle these questions. I'm gonna have these conversations. This will be the last time that I talk about it, or however you want to handle it. But let's go. Fire it at me. I'm gonna show you that I want to lead this team. And I just don't see that in him enough.
Capital Casino, conveniently located on 411 North 16th Street in downtown Sacramento. In 90 seconds, did Keegan Murray slip up during media day?
When it comes to the Kings, nobody has you covered like we do.
All right, we're here with De'Aaron Fox.
I think coming in, and since we've been playing, he's talked about defense a lot to me personally, and being able to, fight through 6-7 screens in a possession, and still be able to do what you do offensively. So I feel like I'm ready for it.
The best Kings talk, the flagship.
Hey, Sacramento, it's De'Aaron Fox, and you're listening to the home of the Sacramento Kings, Sactown Sports.
Your local sports leader.
Carmichael Dave here with huge news. This weekend is the grand opening of Amy Ace Hardware and Amy's Outdoor Living in their second location in the El Dorado Hills Town Center. Amy Ace Hardware has been family owned for more than 100 years. My dad used to take me to Amy Hardware when I was a kid. I am so excited and so honored to be out there this Friday, starting at 10 a.m. for the ribbon cutting ceremony. All weekend long, their vendors will be there to assist you with whatever questions you have, from barbecues to tools, paint, yard, garden, and best of all, you'll find outstanding grand opening savings as well. No surprise to most of you, Friday you'll find me with the Traeger grill rep showing you everything you want to know about a Traeger grill. Saturday and Sunday, free hot dogs 11 to 2. Don't miss that. Amy's Ace Hardware, Amy's Outdoor Living, El Dorado Town Center, Highway 50 at the Latrobe Road exit. Hope to see you out there this Friday at 10 a.m.
Just two guys rubbing elbows, talking sports, and lots of other stuff.
They always keep you on edge.
That's really crazy interesting. It's Cattles Ramie, Sactown Sports, 1140.
Time to check out Coastside Medical Clinic, dedicated to providing breakthrough remedies for men. Did Keegan Murray slip up during media day? We'll get to that in a minute. But just another note on Jimmy G. Pro Football Focus released their grades. And Garoppolo's overall grade was his lowest since week 5 of 2020. And that was the week he tried to play through a high ankle sprain. It was the lowest grade of his career when playing a full game. Here's something that is eye-opening, and we've talked about his post-season, I don't know if I'd say success. The team's been successful.
The win-loss record.
If you look at him, he's been terrible in the postseason. And that's not a stretch. I mean, he's been awful in the postseason. Before this last Sunday's game against the Broncos, his previous low grade was 42.5, which was the NFC Championship game last year.
Not when you want to have that game.
No. Let's jump to Keegan Murray, shall we? We were talking about Keegan and this idea of him sitting and the coming off of the bench. And both Ramie and I said, we don't believe that's going to happen.
No, he's starting.
Coach Brown said to Zach Harbor of The Athletic in the season preview that, I'm not sure if Keegan's going to start.
Why you always lying?
Maybe a little bit of a mistruth. And then there was a part of Harper's article where he talked about Keegan playing the 2. And you and I were like, no, come on. Keegan playing the 2. So when we met up with Keegan on Monday at Media Day, we asked him about how he kind of visualizes and envisions where he's going to be on the floor for the team, right? Where is he going to play? And I want people to listen carefully to what Keegan said, because I think he gave us a little bit more info than I expected him to. Here was Keegan.
I think just on the wing in general, I think that's kind of where I feel like I've excelled at so far since I've been here. And I think, obviously, I feel like I can play both spots, both positions well. But I think right now, the 3 spot, the wing spot is kind of where I've seen my strides happen.
Right there. I listened to it a couple of times. I listened to it again this morning. And I noticed at the end, he said 3. He said the wing spot. And then he said, the 3 is where I've been progressing more. So he did answer the question. He answered it more directly than I thought he did. He said the 3. Now, here's what's interesting. If you read Zach Harper's season preview, Harper says De'Aaron Fox, Domas, obviously guaranteed to start the season at the 1 and the 5. Do you remember who the other player was he brought up?
I don't.
Harrison Barnes. Harper said that Harrison Barnes would be the starting small forward. So it's interesting to me because Harper says that Barnes is going to start at the 3, which tells me somebody told him, whether it was Coach Brown or somebody else, somebody told him the three spots that are solid: Fox at the 1, Barnes at the 3, Domas at the 5. Then we talked to Keegan, and Keegan says that he prefers to play the 3. We just played it for you. That's what he said. So I find that fascinating because what are you going to do with Barnes? If Barnes does start the 3, here's Keegan saying that he prefers the 3, which in my mind tells me he thinks he's better at the 3 than the 4. If that's the case, then do you play Keegan at the 4 and start him? Is that why Brown says, I don't know if we're going to be starting him or not? We don't know if Keegan's going to start. Does Keegan feel more comfortable at the 3? It's interesting that he said at the very end, the 3 position, the wing, the 3.
Does it?
Because I don't think he's playing the 2.
Does it matter to you what the position or the number is next to a guy when he's out there or when you see a starting line? Because I'm not so much concerned with that and you're bringing up some of the same stuff, Nick, to a degree. It's the same conversation, but I'm more worried about combinations and how this thing is going to work. I don't care if you're calling him a 3,
right?
If you're calling him a 4. I look at it and I go, all right, do you have enough scoring out there? And do you have enough guys that can play defense and the right matchups out there?
Well, that was what I mean? Yeah, that was going to be, the kind of the next thought in my head was exactly what you're saying. Like, okay, even if small forward, power forward, whatever, Domas makes it so that it really doesn't matter as much because unless Domas is going to be taking jump shots and taking 3s, and I know we worked on a shot. We talked to him about that on Monday. Unless Domas is going to try to, stretch the floor, which I don't think he's going to try to do often, then it's really not as big of a deal because you don't necessarily need a post presence because Domas is going to be your post offense. Like your post offense is going to be Domas back to the basket, Fox going downhill, and, attacking the closeouts when you pass it out to the 3-point land, right? So it really doesn't matter. The thing that I'm wondering, the only thing I would say, Ramie, that you could look at it and wonder is development of Keegan. Because one of the questions that people had when he was being drafted was he going to develop down in the paint? Was he going to want to develop? Because as a scorer, one of the things that he's not completely polished yet at is his back to the basket in the paint, playing bigger bodies.
Sure.
So it depends on matchup. What I think this tells me is I agree with positionless basketball for the most part. But what this tells me is, dependent on matchup, if you've got a big dude that's playing the 4, Keegan might not want to be involved with that matchup.
Right.
He might be like, slide me to the 3. And then that might be a day where Keegan does come off the bench. So it's just interesting to see how these pieces are going to fit. I do think for the most part, Barnes and Murray are mostly interchangeable. But to me, it's what is Murray's approach? Is he going to try to work on his back to the basket in the paint game? Or is he going to be devoted to being like, no, I'm a wing. Like I don't have to worry about the paint. If I have a small guy on me, I'll go back to basket. But for the most part, I'm be hovering around the perimeter. And it's, you mentioned it to him a lot on Monday. He always brings up Chris Middleton as his comp. That makes even more sense when you talk to him about playing the 3 or the 4 and he says more 3, because Middleton, even in positionless basketball, is more 3 than kind of old school in the paint 4.
But Middleton even worked on his back to the basket game.
Right.
And especially when he finds himself up against a smaller defender, he abuses them with his back to the basket game. So that is something that Murray needs to work on. But if Harrison Barnes is the starting 3, you and I both agree, Nick, Keegan Murray needs to be in the starting lineup, that leaves the 4 spot open for him. So
yeah, look, if Keegan says I want to play, like I'm more comfortable at the 3, I'm going to be like, look, man, positionless basketball. I've given you my 5. My 5 is Fox, Herter, Barnes, Murray, and Domas. That's my starting 5.
And I'm with you. I maybe go with Malik Monk over Herter, but I think that's interchangeable. Maybe even you go on matchups on who it's going to be on a given night out of those two. But I'm with you. Keegan Murray has to be in the starting line.
I just found it to be interesting that he did actually give us a little bit more of an answer than I thought on Monday when I first heard him. Thanks to Chris. Thanks to JJ. Great job as always. R.I.P. Coolio, our guy. Ramie, back tomorrow. Football Friday. Almost a full show tomorrow. Looking forward to it. Until then, it's Cattles and Ramie, Sactown Sports.